Hey everyone, welcome to sCWRUtalku Podcast Volume 2. My name is Zach, and I have a special guest on for the podcast today. It's, everyone has that one friend that they meet early on in their childhood that is basically the enabler for all of the anime and manga. It's kind of like, well, he recommended it to me, I guess I'm going to see it now. Well, here today on Volume 2 of the podcast, I have my good friend Ben.
Welcome Hi, Zach. To the podcast, glad to be here.
So, given that this is Volume 2 of a podcast and we're still relative noobs at this, we decided that it'd be a good idea to pull up a list of talking points and not really let things flow just freely just to start with. And we should probably start off with introductions. Given that the last podcast we kind of just, or it was mainly just me rambling, and if you've listened to it, I am quite embarrassed, surely. But let's start off with some introductions. So, Ben, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. I actually live right down the street from Zach, so I've known him since I was, 6, 5? How long has it been?
All that I remember about when we met, it was a winter with a crap load of snow, and I think my family shoveled your driveway. So maybe when I was 5, I think.
Yeah, okay, so did your dad have the snowblower at that point?
No, he didn't. He actually got the snowblower because it was such an irrationally large pain in the ass to shovel everyone else's driveways.
Okay. So, yeah, anyway, we go back. So I'm at Wesleyan University as an English major.
And for what it's worth, I am actually a mechanical and aerospace engineer at, given by the name of the podcast, Case Western Reserve University. And we may as well start off with a little bit of our anime and manga repertoires or portfolios or resumes or all the other classy words that really shouldn't be used to describe the list of, crappy shows and manga we've read. But what comes to your mind first, Ben?
I like weird shit. I don't really... I understand the appeal of, the stuff that gets, churned out season after season that is good, but if you put something in front of me that has, a really out-there premise or just really ridiculous execution, that's what I'm going to be drawn to. So my favorite shows are things like Bakano or Darker Than Black or Cowboy Bebop, or just the really original shows where you feel like you're watching something special that you haven't really seen before.
I absolutely agree with you there. For the first 2 years at the Northside Anime Club at Case, Bakano was one of the first shows we showed. We always showed the dub. It was, I wouldn't want to say a weed out for people because some people really didn't like dubs, but the moment they started listening to Bakano, they sat down to see the rest of it.
Yeah, I've always described Bakano as a Saturday morning cartoon as imagined by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But okay, my turn. As far as well-versed fandoms go, I'm one of the few people that started off when you remember what year, Ben? When when Shonen Jump magazine was still being mailed to people's doorsteps.
Yeah, I remember. Do you still have that stack of them, or did you sell those?
I'm still staring at the large. God, it's up to my belly. It's 3 volumes higher than my belly button. It's approximately 8 years worth of Shonen Jump magazines just stacked up in my room. And I'm going to look over. I've been an avid manga reader since 2004. It started off because of Dragon Ball Z on TV. But
didn't we all?
Yeah. So I'm one of those few people heavily biased by the stuff I saw early, sue me. And so the things I'm most well-versed in are probably Dragon Ball and One Piece to start off with. And then as I started reading more and more manga online, it got to the point where I would be reading stuff that was famous, or rather famously not famous, but should be famous. Other things I'm really well versed in include Berserk. I just finished a really obscure manga called Battle Angel Alita, which I'm putting that up there.
Battle Angel Alita is not obscure, dude.
I really wish that
it's old, but I mean, people have heard of it.
But as much as I'd love to concede your point to that, the entire anime page or the club that I've been talking to, not all the people who take my recommendations and usually just run with them, none of them, know to shake a stick at Gundam. I mean, so just for the record, this manga is so good that the rumors are that James Cameron bought the rights to it while he was in Japan.
That's not a rumor. That happened.
God.
James Cameron has the film rights.
God, that's incredible.
It's never going to happen. I mean, and Steven Spielberg has his whole Ghost in the Shell thing.
Oh, man, I really hope that happens. What was it? Scarlett Johansson was supposed to...
It is Scarlett Johansson as the major, and while I'm sure she can pull it off emotionally, they really should have gone with a Japanese actress.
Yeah, that tends to be a big thing going around. But, yeah, so that's trying to keep things in the interest of time. That appears to be a little bit of our... that's where we're coming from, and that's a little bit of where, what's on the top of our minds right now. But in addition to that, there's some other stuff that each one of us has been keeping up to date on, and each one of us is trying to be interested in. And the thing that I personally just did a long binge of, just because I'd read the manga a long time ago, which was difficult once I tell you all what it is. And the anime is coming out now, and it's really good. Is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Right. Now, for those of you who still have no idea what the deal is with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, for one thing, just do yourself a favor, go watch it. And then, once you've finished watching it, read the rest of the manga. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has been around since, 87, 88?
Yeah, just a long time ago.
Long fucking time. And it's sort of this generational saga. I believe they're still on part 8, right, for the story?
Yeah, they're still on part 8, but let's part 7 and part 8 are kind of complicated when it comes right down to it.
It's this generational saga. So each part of the story follows a different member of the Joestar line. So we start in the 1800s in England with Jonathan Joestar and trace it all the way forward to the present day with his great granddaughter Jolene.
And Jolene's son Jotaro. But one thing that I love about
Jolene is father.
Oh no, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, she's Jotaro's daughter.
There's so many JoJos.
Yeah,
but
now the most famous JoJo by far is the hero of Part 3, Jotaro Kujo. Now, Part 3 is the one that is currently being animated, and I think it ended either... If it didn't end last week, not even last week, on Friday, I still haven't seen the episode, then it's going to...
We made the great decision of making the podcast before either of us had seen the last episode, or second to last episode, or most recent episode, depending upon when you choose to listen. Yeah, latest episode, which we both read the manga, so we're not completely unprepared, but yeah, we haven't.
At this point, we both know what happens. We're just waiting to see it in glorious motion, because David Production has been doing a fantastic job animating this series.
Job. It's really good. Very rarely do old manga that won awards and are really popular come back and make anime. But for some reason, that's been happening really nicely lately.
Yeah, Parasite also got a new
Parasite's
show,
the other best example.
And actually, you can look at JoJo and Parasite as very different schools of adapting old mediums. Because JoJo is basically a shot-for-shot adaptation of the manga and is set in the early 90s when it was written. Parasite, on the other hand, was also an 80s manga, but the anime has actually moved it forward to the present day and adjusted the story and character designs to account for differing tastes. And,
I always thought
trends in technology and cell phones and such.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's as large of a gap for Parasite. Mainly because, technology's never really a big player in Parasite as much as it is in JoJo, whereas, oh my god, Part 2 was all crazy about it with the airplanes and the chambers where they kept Wham stored.
Part 2 is set in the 30s, though.
Yeah. But Parasite wasn't 80s, I thought. I thought it was always 93 through 95s when it won the award, but...
whenever it was running.
Yeah.
I thought it was 80s.
It feels like it's hard to tell time.
It feels very 80s.
Yeah. But, God, that adaptation was really spectacular. The one thing that I really like about both those adaptations is how they handled their sound design. especially JoJo. Like, JoJo Part 2 did one of the classiest things that I can remember in, as far as anime soundtracks go, and that is that its closing song was Roundabout by Yes, which is like, it's English progressive classic rock. It's the classiest thing you'd ever think of.
They actually did that for Part 1 as well, and actually the genius of that is they picked an 8-minute song. So they could use just different snippets of it for the ending theme, whatever, and just whatever was appropriate for the episode.
As much as I love original soundtracks for anime, especially with everything Gainax and Bones touches, because they like that shit, and Madhouse sometimes, I really love it when you borrow from some other truly famous band or musical composer.
I gotta say,
One Piece is...
Season 2 used "Walk Like an Egyptian" by the Bangles as its ending theme, and if you're familiar at all with what happens in JoJo Part 3, you're not watching the show for some reason, then you know exactly why that's appropriate. And the current season is actually using Pat Metheny, which I never thought I would see in an anime.
I just realized that's what it was. Damn. That's impressive. But so the other thing that because I've been finally keeping up to date with what I would call an ongoing anime. A lot of anime that I watch isn't particularly ongoing. It's a 26 episode or a 13 episoder or something I've been watching since I was really young. So it's the first series that I've really felt like I had to babysit for a while. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is. How's that for you, Ben? Any similar situation?
I watch a lot more simulcasts than you do, I think. Although you've started getting in on that, I think.
Yeah, I just recently got my Crunchyroll subscription, and I'm really, really glad I did.
So what usually happens for me is I don't actually keep up that often with what's coming out. So I'll find a new show basically on a whim, or Zach will recommend something, or someone will recommend something that's still airing. And I'll watch as much of it as there is, and then if I like it, I'll go read the manga. out to wherever it is, and then go back. Because, like, unless it's something ridiculously long like JoJo, I can usually finish the manga between the episode I just finished and the release of the next one.
I'm not gonna lie. Whenever there's anime that come out that's based off manga that is relatively short, I actually became really, really good at searching for anime and trying to recommend to you in particular, because I got really good at targeting the short stuff. Like, I remember when chapter 1 of a manga called All You Need Is Kill came out, and I called you like my house was on fire. Like, Ben, you gotta read this thing.
That was Akamega Kill, not All You Need Is Kill.
Are you sure? Because
you did that for Akamega Kill.
Oh. Really?
Yes.
Now that's just a bitter taste in my mouth.
Yep. Okay, see, here's the thing about Zach. He mentioned earlier that I was the one recommending stuff to him. I have close to a perfect track record with recommending stuff that he likes. He cannot say the same.
No, okay, that's for a couple of reasons. One, I'm very susceptible to hype, and nowadays with people who are not you, who in the past, before I was way more hype susceptible, I'm a lot better now. But yeah, back in the day it was pretty bad. There's a couple of nicely bought for every 2 good manga I'd recommend, 1 was complete and utter shit. God, you probably know the examples better than me.
Akamega Kill was the big one.
Really?
I seem to remember you referring to it as the next Full Metal Alchemist.
All right, no, that's... no, that's not true. It was something even more embarrassing than that.
Is your words, dude.
It was another manga that's even worse than Akamega Kill that I called the next Full Metal Alchemist.
Remind me which one that was, then?
It was Unbreakable Machine Doll.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh.
I don't know what I was... The premise of that show was so good, I was, like, instantly seduced.
And then the execution was so terrible.
And not only, like, I don't know if I ever showed you the anime of it. I think I might have.
You did show me the anime, and I still haven't forgiven you for it.
I later found out that the director of that anime was the director of Queensblade.
That explains so much.
It's really, really horrible.
I will say this. You've never... I have seen much worse than even the stinkers you've recommended.
Which is okay. So it's good to know that I've never like completely shat the bed.
No,
like it's.
You've recommended. I mean, the other thing is, like I said, I specifically seek out and enjoy like the really out there stuff.
That's what makes it really hard to find stuff to get your attention sometimes.
So I automatically I shy away from anything harem, anything magical girlfriend, anything.
Shit.
Yeah.
Until Kill la Kill happens, in which case we're not okay. There's an exception now or something, but yeah.
I mean, Kill la Kill is like what. Say what you like about the premise. The execution is just so balls to the wall. Not so with it.
It's every single trope cranked up to 11 and fast forward.
I remember the day the first episode came out, I saw it and just. The first, 5 minutes of that show?
Oh my god, I was the one constantly yelling. Yeah, about the first fucking 5 minutes of that show.
I ran into I work in my school's tech office, so I just ran in and just said, okay, all of you need to stop what you're doing and watch this fucking show.
Yeah, it was,
right now.
It's that is that, like, say what you want about Kill la Kill, there's problems with it, just like there's problems with practically every single show.
Of course.
But if you're gonna give it anything, it knows how to throw a first pitch. That's a really good way to do it.
Yes, how to throw a first pitch Kill la Kill style. Step 1, grab student. Step 2, throw at door.
Oh my god, the one of my favorite gifs of all time is a looped gif of Gamagori falling out the window laughing.
Yeah. Somebody did that with audio too. So it's just like this endless.
It's fucking fantastic.
It's perfect.
I'm not gonna lie, Ben. I'm seeing the next thing on our to talk about list, and I'm like, how are we gonna segue this? We couldn't have picked a worse anime to be on to segue into.
Well, I'm about to go into something else because going back to worse things I've seen. For those of you listening who recognize my voice, it's probably because I play Sadao in The Devil is a Part-Timer Abridged, or Yato and Origami Abridged, but Devil has more views.
Devil's good, man.
There's another series out there that somebody recommended to me and said that it had a similar premise to Devil, which was Demon King Daimao, and that was terrible. And then there was another series that a different person recommended to me, which also had a similar premise to Devil, and it was worse.
What was the worst one?
It had an incredibly long name, but it was something along the lines of I couldn't become a hero, so I decided to get
to get a job. Oh fucking hell, man! Yeah. The fact that you have a Crunchyroll subscription really comes back to bite you in the ass when there's like that one show out of 3 that's just absolutely terrible on Crunchyroll.
Yeah. More on that in a minute. But now, for those of you who haven't seen it, good. For those of you who have, I'm sorry.
You better not have liked it.
See. Normally, I will always watch at least one episode of something, like one full episode, because maybe it'll throw a curveball at the end. I don't know. This is one of the rare exceptions, because
what is this?
This is I Couldn't Become a Hero. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have seen it.
Okay, now. Certain shows have moments where they like to say, okay, here's what you're getting. Okay, this is what we're about, and this is what you can expect if you continue to watch us. Okay?
I love it when they break the fourth wall that way. It's like, what the hell did you expect?
Not even breaking the fourth wall. Just, doing something that's a very clear moment of establishing what you can expect from the series going forward. Game of Thrones did it towards the end of the first season with the event that you all know what I'm referring to.
It's oh god,
but I'm not.
We can't be spoiler sensitive, but whatever. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah. Suffice to say, it's Sean Bean. What did you think was gonna happen?
It's the most predictable thing ever. Like it's kind of like being tied to the train tracks and someone who's watching being like, "What do you mean he got run over?" What did you?
Although I will say, have you ever heard of Sharp?
Sharp? No, I have not.
Okay, Sharp is the protagonist of this like British book series and later miniseries. He's also the man so badass that not even being played by Sean Bean could kill him.
Oh, wait, that's like the one role he's been in that didn't get him killed?
That's like his one leading man role where he's actually survived to kick ass throughout the entire thing.
So I don't know if I told you this, but I had a running joke that I predicted that for some reason Space Dandy was going to be voiced by Sean Bean.
Oh, God.
It makes perfect sense.
It makes absolute sense, but still, that would be fantastic. But anyway, so going back to the stating of intentions. I Couldn't Become a Hero states its intentions with, I think, the second shot?
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Which is a cut from the main character in full armor fighting a demon to his ally who is wearing basically a thong and a couple of pieces of string with her boobs flapping, with ridiculously oversized boobs flapping in the wind as she falls at the most, like, scandalous camera angle imaginable. It doesn't really improve from there. It's like, okay, I understand that you're trying to tell a story here, but could you please get the boobs away from the camera? Your cameraman seems to think he's shooting a porno. And it didn't work for Caligula. It's not going to work for you.
So, as much as I'd love to say that I absolutely hate it when shows do that, all it takes is one freaking exception, and then I can't use absolutes anymore. And for me, that exception is Food Wars.
So let's talk about Food Wars.
Yeah, let's talk about Food Wars. Food Wars this is one of the manga I chose not to recommend to Ben. Did I recommend Food Wars to you?
You showed me the trailer, and then you showed me the first episode,
Good.
And you wanted to show it to me while my mother was in the room.
I stand by that. She seems like a nice lady.
You know my mom, dude. How do you think she would have reacted to that?
Oh, okay. Should I leave? No, Mom, stay. Watch the food porn.
Yes, watch the tentacles. Thank you.
Oh yeah. So, Food War. It looks like the fact that you said showed me the trailer means I did it. I restrained myself and did not recommend the manga to you when I read the first chapter like a year and a half ago. It's one of those things that I've just been hanging on to. Like this is funny. I like this. But Food Wars is Shokugeki no Soma's Japanese name for you people who read the manga, because it's easier to Google the manga like that if you read it. But Food Wars is basically, as far as stating the intentions go, the first episode has I wouldn't call it a stating of the intentions. I would call it a weed out class, so to speak.
That's also a good name for the idea.
What, the weed out class?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and it doesn't always have to be fan service either. Like the very first shot of Pan's Labyrinth is the little girl bleeding out on the ground.
Yeah, it is a barrier to entry. I think I'm gonna try to use that term more. But the weed out class in Food Wars is long story short, don't eat squid tentacles covered in peanut butter, because apparently it tastes so bad that what happens in the show happens. And Shokugeki takes...
Let's discuss this for a moment.
Fine.
The main conceit of Food Wars is that the food in it is so good... in order to represent how good the food is, rather, it shows visuals of sensations similar to what the characters are experiencing by eating that food.
It tastes like blank. Except sometimes the food is so good that you need to pull a metaphor out of the fifth dimension in order to just, like, what...
Translation. Foodgasm just got literal.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones from the manga is one where I can do this. I can think of a good one. It was a turtle soup dish, and it was so good that... Whatever. The next picture was a chick wearing a giant turtle costume fighting Godzilla. I don't know what words accompany that, but I have that picture on my phone somewhere.
Okay, I believe you.
Yeah,
but yeah. So now, in context of Food Wars, squid tentacles in peanut butter. Yeah,
don't do that.
It
don't do
still
that.
goes for the fan service angle, but again, tentacles
With more tentacles, like actual. Like, for all the hype tentacles get, you rarely see it outside of terrible hentai made in, like, 2004. Not that I would know that or have any idea about the... God damn it. But...
Zach?
Yeah?
We've talked about putting your foot in your mouth.
Yeah, I'm working on it. But other than... Look, tentacles are... You rarely see an outright excuse without it being old. This was, like, a new... This is the first time they've been like, you know what? Yeah, we know how weird this is. It needs to happen. We're gonna do it. It's like we're going full tentacles. We're gonna show the entire thing to epic operatic music in the background, and then we're not gonna pan the camera away. It's gonna be right there.
You know, it's funny because remember what exactly went down when you showed me that?
No, I don't.
Okay, so it started with you taking the remote away.
I knew you would turn it off.
And I would have. And then my little brother walks in. And I'm like, okay, just look, at least it's you. It's not Emma. It's not my sister. It's not my mother. It's not my dad. You're fine. You can handle yourself. You're a big boy. And then he gives me, what, is this porn? It's not exactly porn, but cue the tentacles.
Yeah.
Like, right then.
Yeah, it was perfectly timed. I think, if memory serves, it was like one of those comedic things where you walk in on someone disposing of a body, then idiot number one and idiot number two start yammering at one another. Hey, what are you doing? We're gonna, if memory serves, it wasn't just that. It was, well, it's not exactly porn. Then I said,
Yeah.
And then cue the tentacles.
Yeah, it was something like that.
How many times have we said cue the tentacles?
It was one of those great moments of timing.
Yeah, it's and despite the tentacles in the show, it's still really, really entertaining. I really like that show.
Yeah. Plus, also, I actually do want to try that bacon and potatoes recipe. I just,
That's the thing, too. Like, it's actually an educational show. Like, I have a good friend of mine whose name, I'm gonna call him out. Whose name is Vince. And, he likes the show because it's so freaking ridiculous. And then I'm going to be living with him next semester. And then he's like, Zach, we need to, like, compile a cookbook of, like, all of the screenshots from this show because they're actually educational on how we're going to end up making the food. And you'd best bet we're making the food next semester.
There are GIFs out there of somebody actually making that recipe and attempting to match it shot for shot.
Okay. I gotta find that.
I lost the link, but
it will resurface.
It is wonderful.
I'm in a unique position, Ben, where I'm surrounded by people who are basically just like metal detectors for weird anime shit. I mean, half of the weird. I mean, there's one anime coming out of a manga that I hadn't yet read. It's by JC Staff, the same people who are going to be making Food Wars, and it's a fantasy universe where you're not allowed to yell obscenities at all. And then the main character is a chick who wears underwear on her head.
Underwear? What? Sorry, you broke up.
Underwear on her head.
What's this called?
I can't remember the name, but if you go to anime, what was it? It was Anime Chart or a Live Chart or something. If you go there, I can't for the life of me remember the name of the anime, and freaking JoJo, the guy in my club, is going to be really upset at me because he memorizes the names of all this weird shit. But yeah, it's apparently going to be like the spiritual embodiment of Food Wars now because it's just blatantly obscene, but it's so self-aware nobody will care.
Uh-huh.
Not really your cup of tea. I wasn't planning on telling you that. Well, I mean,
it might be. I mean, like I said, I like out there stuff, and as long as it's executed well and things make, like, I loved Kill la Kill, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a problem with fan service per se. I absolutely have a problem when
it's not there for a reason.
When it feels like it really is only there because the audience wants to see this character naked.
That's my thing. Like in my
right. And you can say this about any about movies as well. Like, I have no problem with sex scenes in movies. I am the last person on earth who gets to be a prude about anything. Right?
Let's make sure we do not talk about on this podcast.
Yeah, let's not go into that here.
Yeah.
But I don't mind when a movie has a sex scene that furthers the plot.
What was it? The Game of Thrones term, plot sex position.
Yeah, and well, actually, the example that springs to mind of is A History of Violence.
I remember that.
Okay.
You told me about that like a long.
Yeah, it's Cronenberg. You should watch it. It's good.
Yeah.
There are 2 sex scenes in that movie, and I'm not going to give away the details, but essentially the way they play out not only reflect the changing relationship between the main character and his wife over the course of the film, but actually sort of catalyze a lot of those same changes.
It's I know exactly where you're coming from in terms of that. Like one of my favorite things as far as usage of the lewdness goes. Whenever there's an actually adult story, using it in that, like my favorite example ever is in Berserk the manga. Actually, there's only one sex scene in the entire show, and it's used to reveal the trauma that happened to the main character Guts, and I think that's one of the classiest things ever. But my primary excuse
that's not fair. There's a lot of sex scenes. There's one love scene.
Okay, the one love scene. There's
a lot of people fucking in Berserk.
God, don't even talk about it. It's just, if you're gonna read Berserk, make sure there's you've locked the door, you have a baseball bat next to you, and are just ready to break everything once you're done.
Because baseball bat is going to be going against your skull first.
Yeah, that's a good. But the fan service. The other excuse that I will give for fan service is when it puts you in the shoes of the main character. Like, in a lot of old tough guy anime, whenever there's a big, intimidating person, that person becomes 30 feet tall, like Gamagori in Kill la Kill. That's obviously unrealistic, and it's because they're obviously not 30 feet tall, but it's kind of like playing the game of, well, your mind's blowing it up because you feel uncomfortable around that person. In that same way, I rarely see it, but anytime there's fan service from a first-person point of view, or from an over-the-shoulder of the main character who happens to be a guy who happens to be really shy around chicks, I think that's okay. I think that's one of the few places where I'll be like, all right, that's classy.
Sure,
well
as
done.
long as it doesn't get in the way in the story.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that actually... The other show that I'm watching this season that's also ending soon... actually has taken an approach to fan service that I find quite refreshing, because there is none.
And
this
not
just that we're talking about tastefully done sex scenes. Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works is ending soon.
God, it's a good show. I hate to admit it, but it's a really good show.
It is a fantastic show. But the reason I'm making the segue here is because last week's episode actually
was the fabled sex scene in the visual novel. I remember the hype around that.
Yeah, so at that point in the visual novel that it's based on, 2 of the main characters had sex. For plot reasons, but also because, hey, it's technically I guess they felt they had to make it a porno to sell copies. Because all of the re-releases have taken that scene out. But the way, I'm not going to lie, I would have, it would have made sense, sort of, from a story perspective if they had done it, but it makes just as much sense for them not to have. And I like that, I like how they handled it. I think it was very tasteful without being, the ridiculousness of that dragon.
Yeah, it's, of the little experience I've had with the Fate Stay Night visual novel, which it's relatively, it's not it's not a complete lack of experience on my half. It's dozens of hours, so to speak. But I always find it interesting how relationships like that are worked into anime form. Steins Gate in particular, I found that really interesting. How that adaptation happened. But Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works in particular, is doing a really kick-ass job, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's so nice to finally see this stuff animated well, right? Because they made Fate's been adapted a couple times, and they made an Unlimited Blade Works movie a couple years back. This show has better animation than the movie.
Which is, I mean, UFO Table is because UFO Table.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, I'd actually like to take a step back here because you said you're not that familiar with Fate Stay Night, the visual novel,
I'm not.
And I'm assuming that not all of the listeners are that familiar with it. So, I'd like to take the opportunity to give sort of a Nasuverse and Fate 101.
Wise decision.
Okay. So, for those of you who have no idea what we've been talking about, Fate Stay Night was originally a visual novel. Think sort of choose your own adventure type of game. Released in 2004. It's part of the Nasuverse, which is a collection of other visual novels by Type Moon, directed and written by Kinoko Nasu, which deal with various facets of an extremely complex supernatural world. Really ridiculously complex. I could talk about it for an hour and have nowhere. You could write a textbook about
coming from a One Piece fan on my behalf. I give it the congratulations. You have a complex universe seal of approval, which is it's saying something.
Okay.
It is.
So, Fate is in itself a sub franchise of this.
Which is
Fate
crazy.
Stay Night is the original visual novel. It's followed by Fate Hollow Ataraxia, which is. The canonicity of it is debatable. It's essentially takes place. It's really weird to even try to describe how it fits in. So just
it's to my knowledge, it's about as difficult as trying to explain Evangelion timelines to people.
Well, it's more like trying to it'd be like watching the first 4 episodes of Ava. And then watching Rebuild 2.2, and then watching Rebuild 2 and then trying to mash them together as one series, right?
Yeah.
With one continuity. Basically at the end of a lot of people, the weird thing with Hollow Ataraxia is just that a lot of people die in Fate Stay Night. And with one exception, all of them are back for Hollow Ataraxia.
Okay, now I don't know about who's back.
Sorry, what?
Who didn't come back? Like
Kirei.
Oh, freak! Yeah, okay.
Okay,
we're
Kirei,
good.
It's stated repeatedly in the game that Kirei is still dead, and he's the only one who's dead.
Yeah, that was I couldn't put my but yeah, continue.
Now, so Hollow Ataraxia aside, the main game, Fate Stay Night, consists of 3 routes, which 3 different paths that the story can take. And as usual in a visual novel, it depends on which of the 3 heroines is romanced. I know.
I really hate that trope so much.
But Fate stands out from the pack for a couple of reasons. First, because there's an order to them. In the original release, their 3 routes were actually locked behind each other. You had to complete the Fate route to get the Unlimited Blade Works route, and then you had to complete Unlimited Blade Works to get Heaven's Feel. And the storylines of the 3 routes are also sort of follow up on each other. So it comes in the final product comes off less as different stories from the same seed and more as a series of escalating what ifs. If that makes any sense.
I love viewing the running joke of if you're a fantasy author, the more open-ended questions you ask, the more money you're pocketing.
Yeah.
It's the reason
not
why
so
I
much-
hate Bleach so much.
It's not so much that. You can almost look at them as sequels to each other. Or even reboots.
Okay, I
of
like
each other.
that. Yeah, that's an okay way to handle it. In my what's not okay
because
is,
they are sequential.
Yeah,
The first route is the shortest, is the most simplistic, and mostly serves to establish the characters and their motivations.
Oh my god, I've only done 2 routes of the first game.
This is the route. This is the Fate route. This is the one that was adapted by Studio Dean around 2006. Terribly.
You just pissed off a large amount of the club. But whatever, continue.
Look, I mean, it's a good story because Fate is a good story, but it's the weakest of the 3, and the animation is terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Then UFO Table, and all praise UFO Table. Seriously.
All praise UFO Table.
I just wish it wasn't all just blue. Everything is blue.
I know,
it's like an
but
Avengers movie.
I'll say this. It beats the hell out of that thing people have started doing where they'll just lower the white point of a scene to make it look darker.
Oh, so we're both film nerds. We're both huge film nerds. For future reference, people who are listening.
Basically what I'm talking about is a trend I've noticed in anime lately where they want to make it look like somebody's standing in a shadow. Instead of actually bothering to change up the coloring, they'll basically just put sunglasses over the camera.
That's a really good description of it. One of these days, I want that to happen with like a really dramatic entrance, and then I want to see that it's actually a first-person point of view, and they take off their sunglasses. It's like, what the fuck are you doing on that roof, man? That's not a cool pose at all.
But so Fate, the first route establishes the main character and his personality or lack thereof. The second route tells an almost entirely different story, with the only similarities being that the same characters are in the same places at the start of it. And all the little minor differences have this massive ripple effect, to the point that a lot of the major players in the first route end up dead less than halfway into the second.
Yeah, that's so come to think of it, speaking of gaining momentum there, as Fate's Day Night wraps up, as Unlimited Blade Works wraps up, what are your how do you think it's going as a person who's read source material to the nth degree?
I like it. There's a certain spell invocation that is used in the original visual novel that I wish they had kept the full version of, because it does sort of illuminate a lot of the character of the person using it. But aside from that very minor complaint, I am loving this.
Yeah, I have, other than the fact that in my opinion, you should move the camera as little as possible. And you should, put it as if you were holding it. That's my biggest complaint is when anime is not cinematic. Like, I really hate it when... So, I don't know if you know this, Ben, but I hate vertical pans in anime with a burning passion. And the reason being...
You've not mentioned that, but I'm not surprised.
Okay, so the reason I hate that, and this is... Fate's Day Night Unlimited Blade Works does not do this very much, but they have a habit of doing stuff similar. I don't like it when they just draw a big frame, then just sweep the camera across it as people talk. I don't like that very much. I like seeing things... It's the reason why I love anime movies where there's just a lot happening, also known as, we have a lot of budget and use it properly.
Sure.
Which Unlimited Blade Works does, and it's really awesome in that way. But at the same time, I do wish, or rather, with as far as money being thrown at the finale of the show, I'm hopeful, right, so to speak.
So anyway, moving along, because this is running a little long.
Yeah, it's way longer than the first one. But we're still... It's volume 2.
So Unlimited Blade Works mostly deals with deconstructing all of the characteristics and all of the motivations that were set up in the first route. Heaven's Feel is the final route, by far the longest, and the most emotionally complex, I think. And the other reason it has to be last, I think, is because of what is revealed during it and what you learn through Heaven's Feel.
You're trying really hard not to spoil it, aren't you?
I am trying incredibly hard not to spoil it, but anyone who's seen Fate Zero already knows what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that you learn about the heroine of that route, which essentially cannot be unlearned, and makes it pretty much impossible to go back and read any of the other two routes without thinking, holy shit, she's still going through hell and I'm not doing anything about it.
Yeah, that's I think you sold me on the games, dude.
Yeah,
I think I blame you.
Now, I mentioned Fate Zero. Fate Zero was written afterwards as a prequel to the visual
I like
novel.
Fate Zero a lot, by the way. I really,
most people do.
On the record, yeah.
So, the current adaptation of Unlimited Blade Works does take a few cues from Zero to add additional content that was not in the novel. For those of you watching the show, Ilya never fought personally in the visual novel. Amongst other things.
I always thought that was kind of forced, actually. Come to think of it, that makes sense, yeah.
Sure. And then just a couple of minor character interactions, because the characters in the visual novel don't, even the ones who do know the things that are revealed in Fate Zero generally act like they don't in the game until they become relevant in the third round. Now, if you haven't seen Fate Zero yet and you're interested in getting into the universe, my suggestion is actually to still play the original game, because Zero does give away a lot of things about the third route and it does it very casually because it has to. They're established parts of the universe, and you can't really tell a story without addressing them. At the same time, once you know them, they were originally kept spoilers until very late in the game for a very good reason. So my suggestion is still to play the game and then to watch Zero, and then watch Unlimited Blade Works,
which is an awesome anime.
Yeah,
meaning big to-do list, worth doing.
Yeah. Now, granted, the game is unbelievably long. I think if you want to try to hunt down every single death, it clocks in at around 800,000 words.
So in gameplay hours, Ben, in regular non-visual novel professional hours,
it really depends on how fast you read.
How about you?
Because most of the game is basically just text.
Well, yeah, it's a visual novel, but when I played it, I remember something akin to an 80-hour beat time for me, and I did not go very explosive.
I would not be surprised. I read ridiculously fast, and it still took me a week to get through.
Yeah, that's
the other thing is that Nasu is a very good idea man, but he's actually kind of a terrible writer.
I'd compare him to Charles Dickens, if anything. The man it's like he's paid by the word, because I actually think he might be.
Well, it's a combination of that and, not a very good translation.
Yeah, there's never
I mean, and
despite
granted,
your best efforts.
Given the length of the thing, I'm amazed that we got one as good as we did.
Yeah.
So my recommendation for anyone wanting to get into the Fate universe is to download the visual novel. It was recently re-released with updated graphics and music as the Rail to Nua edition, which also split the routes into 3 different applications. So they're no longer locked behind each other. So if you have seen Zero and you have seen Unlimited Blade Works, then you can just play the other. Then you can just skip straight to Heaven's Feel.
So with the great Fate infograph
I'm not actually done yet.
Okay, this is it. Just for the record, to the people who listen to this podcast who will possibly complain about how I never talk about visual novels, take note of this. Fire.
Okay. Anyway, so what you want to do is acquire the game. It is theoretically possible to buy it. I'm just not sure how. And then download the latest version of the translation patch. When you install the patch, you may be very tempted to turn the sex scenes off because they're terrible. I actually recommend against this. First off, because, again, they're terrible, and that's hilarious.
Okay.
But also because, especially in Heaven's Feel, there's a certain element of the story that I will tell you once the mics go off. That
okay, do not forget. I want to hear this.
That is, you actually, it's not a pleasant one. But it's removed.
Still gonna hear it.
With the sex scenes removed. So what that patch basically does is it takes the text of the original game and slots it into the re-release.
Which, just for the record, Ben here is very active in a couple of things, and one of those things is he was an editor on which game was it?
I'm you're giving me way too much credit. I did a little bit of quality assurance on the Halo Ataraxia translation. Basically, I showed up in the forum that it was being worked on in 2 weeks before release with a couple dozen notes of just, little minor grammar errors and just things that I thought could be reworded. And they said, okay, that's pretty fucking comprehensive. You're going in the credits.
Yeah, that's...
So my online handle is in there.
Which is
not going on the air.
Yeah, fine. I'm not gonna put that anywhere. But okay, so because we're running a little bit long on time, I'm gonna want to cut ahead to I'm gonna want to omit the next point on our speaker notes, Ben.
Sure.
And should we? So I'm gonna say the name now in case we talk about it in a later podcast. There's a game called Anime Chicken. And I don't know, we're going to decide now if we want to talk about that or the stuff that's coming up in the next season. Ben?
Let's talk about the next season.
Good. It's Anime Chicken could go on for quite a while.
Plus, we already talked about my recommendation for it.
Yeah, it's just for the record, my recommendation is Wanna Be the Strongest, which is quite horrible. The first 10 seconds of it, basically just you... Later we'll tell you about Anime Chicken. But for now, that's once again, I'm a very hype perceptive person, and I'm very susceptible to hype of things. And next season is really, really gonna be bad for my health as far as things coming out, because I'm either gonna be having a heart attack out of joy or angry as fuck at the adaptations, which don't really do it for me. So Ben,
probably
what
both.
is Yeah, probably both.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna get the click noises on the podcast and pull it up because I actually want to see a list of the anime.
Sure.
I recommend you do the same. Here, hang on.
I have a list.
Oh, good. Someone's more thorough than me. Okay.
So,
summer 2015.
I'm just scrolling down and seeing the stuff that looks interesting. First off, we're getting an animation of Daily Life with Monster Girl, a.k.a.
Monster Musume no Iru Nichijou. Because my pronunciation is spot on, I assure you.
Yeah.
Sarcasm, but okay, good. It's gonna...
Now, for those of you who are unaware of this, again, be grateful.
Here's your opinions, then mine.
What this is, it started as porn.
Okay.
Let's just put that out there.
It started as porn.
And then somebody decided that somehow, someone decided that it would be more marketable if they took the porn and removed the porn. Okay? Now, this worked for Fate Stay Night because there were about 5 sex scenes in 800,000 words of insane fight scenes, okay? This is a magical girlfriend series. A really unoriginal magical... Well...
Okay.
It's called Daily Life with Monster Girl, and really everything you need to know about it is right there in the title. This one guy, this poor schmuck, has monster girls move in with him. And I guess
So-
I guess doesn't have sex with them now. So I have no
Okay.
idea what's.
You haven't read all of the manga like I have.
You what?
And I'm not sorry. I will defend this. Now, it is quite possibly one of the most smuttiest, and if anyone ever sees you reading or watching this, they will lose 30% of their respect for you.
And this is the guy who just recommended Food Wars, by the way. So let's keep this in mind here.
Yeah, it's absolutely you will actually spit out liquid onto your computer. It is that. But that being said, it's one of the funniest goddamn shows or manga I've ever read. Now the reason being, it's so cranked up to 11 that of a smutty, terrifying, otherwise off-putting harem manga, this one is the only one to do what Food Wars does for the cooking manga genre, or cooking anime genre, which is, there's never been a good cooking anime. Working? Sorry, it's not.
Well, Working's getting a third season, so...
Which is, it makes me really angry when anime, which are only popular to a specific target audience, keep getting sequels, but I'll talk about that maybe never.
Why does High School DxD have a third season?
Yeah.
Why? They could have funded anything, and they did. They made this. Like,
but
like
Monster
Musume. There's better action shows out there, and there's better porn. So why?
Monster Musume is the better porn. Monster Musume is the so it's really, really funny because the only thing that is completely awkward to anyone other than the weirdest human beings on the planet is the subject matter of this show. Therefore, it is incredibly relatable because, look, I'm telling you this. Really, if you want to maintain something about yourself that you will otherwise lose if you watch or read this, don't watch or read this. However, although it's not worth all the hype that it got, by the way, this outsold Attack on Titan for an entire year in the US.
Well, I mean, that's the US though.
Most
people don't buy manga here.
Yeah, it's fucking weird, man. But when this anime comes out, it's I'm telling you this right now, it's going to pollute Tumblr with GIFs for months. I'm calling that right now. You heard it here.
All right, I will $5.
Okay, fine. $5. It will pollute. Food Wars also pollutes Tumblr right now, by the way. But okay, I'm gonna go up to the top now. It's my turn to pick out one that I'm hyped about.
Sure.
I'm going down. There's that's the longest title I've ever. No, I'm not. There's a lot of anime that comes out, and so much of it is just absolutely horrible.
We're getting a new Aquarian series.
What? You do you, bros.
I'm not that familiar with it, but
it's like
Genesis of Aquarian is getting a third series, basically.
God, summer looks okay. So
right below that on the list, there's a show listing that I know we were just complaining about.
Oh no! Don't talk
the monster thing, but the listing right under the new Aquarian series is called Bikini Warriors.
Yeah, there's Bikini. I know about Bikini Warriors.
Why
the entire
do you know
show
about this?
Because the entire show is. I think it's gonna be a stab at the statement that chicks' armor in fighting games doesn't do anything, and I feel like the artist is like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking. Screw you, people. I'm going to make it where the bikinis are the optimal form of armor.
Kill la Kill did that, though, and that was...
I know. I don't know what this is. I have no clue, but it looks absolutely terrible, and I do not recommend anyone watch it.
We're getting more Durarara.
Yeah, which is... whatever. The light novel's good. People like it.
I mean, I definitely want to see where it goes after what happened at the end of the last run. I will say the animation in this season seems to have been a lot worse than it was in the first. So I hope that gets fixed.
To my knowledge, oh god, who the hell Studio Shoot? Oh dear, that studio does not bode well in my opinion.
Who?
That's the name of that studio. Studio Shuka. I don't know.
Huh. But we are getting a new season of yet another Fate thing, which is...
Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about God Eater.
Okay, let's talk about God Eater.
Because UFO Table, speaking of freaking light novels, man, or rather, in this case, it's a game, but whatever. There's a lot of hype for God Eater, the animation. There is. It's looking really good.
I mean, it's UFO Table. Like, as far as I'm concerned...
Okay, so for the record, my favorite studios are Bones, then Madhouse. UFO Table's maybe like fourth or something.
Sure. I mean, look, the thing with UFO Table is that their big items are Fate at this point. They haven't really done much else.
Yeah.
So what I would love to see, I would love to see UFO Table actually get its hands on an original IP.
Yeah, that'd be good, because adaptations can only carry you so far.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, one of my favorite studios for original IP, or rather manga adaptation, it's basically light novels tend to have a lot more detail in terms of just things for the animators to play off of, and there's always a lot of debate as to how things end up looking. The people who like light novels usually end up hating the anime adaptations, but manga, that problem isn't there. And one studio that I really, really like is Studio Manglobe. Studio Manglobe made the anime called Samurai Champloo. And Studio Manglobe is making a new anime coming out called Gangsta. And as much as I hate to admit it, I have not read the manga of it, although it is a manga. And that's an anime I'm really looking forward to. If nothing else, because Manglobe's a weird studio. It's a really weird studio, but a lot of the stuff that they do I really like.
Sure. The only issue you have to remember when you're dealing with anything related to Samurai Champloo is that that's a Shinichiro Watanabe series.
Yeah, Shinichiro Watanabe is basically Midas of the anime industry. Everything he touches turns to gold.
See also Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, and freaking Space Dandy. God, I don't know how he does it.
So,
wait, what was he directing at the same time as Space Dandy?
Terror in Resonance.
Yeah, man, that was classy as hell.
So we are getting God Eater. We're getting, like I said, there's another Fate series coming out, although this one's a little different. Fate, Kaled Liner, Prisma Ilya, and no, I don't care for the title at all.
I love this series so much.
Okay, so as those of you who have seen any of it or listened to my spiel earlier may be aware, Fate is not the most kid-friendly series out there. Lots of sex, lots of death, lots and lots and lots of extremely bloody fight sequences. Fate, Kaled Liner, Prisma Ilya, and I have got to find an abbreviation for that title or I'm going to go crazy.
That abbreviation is fuck you.
Yeah. Kaled. Is about...
my friends call it Prisma, but
okay, whatever. Is what happens when you take Ilya, you know, the homicidal little girl, and give her and turn her into a magical girl. It is ridiculous and it is fluff and I love it.
You remind me of a friend of mine at the club whose code name is Shinji, and he has weird anime tastes, and this is like the look on his face when he admits that he likes this series is just like, I'm not apologizing though. I love the shit out of it.
I regret nothing. But it's definitely just it's fluffy. Which I just find hilarious because it's like
complete 180.
It's imagine 180. Like if someone made Game of Thrones into a Saturday morning cartoon about the Stark family and their adorable puppies. And the puppies got up to adventures. And that was what the cartoon was about. That is Fate, Kaled Liner, Prisma Ilya, okay?
Okay.
That is what we're dealing with here.
On the note of stuff that ridiculous... I actually have another oracle of manga and light novels. His name is Ben. I'm living with him also next year. It's a different Ben this time.
I was about to say I was unaware that you were coming to Wesleyan.
No, it's surprise. Where's the fridge? I would do that. I would, but the other Ben reads a lot of light novels, and he's one of the few people on Earth that I acknowledge as having read a disproportionately larger amount of manga than me.
You finally found someone, huh?
He's a monster. However, the fact that he reads so much manga backfired this Ben, because now he can't differentiate them. They all blend together in his head.
Oh god.
It's like I always say, hey, you know the thing about the what is it, about the ninjas that eat the fruit that turn them into rubber, and then they have to fight crime as superheroes? So it's basically Gintama. That's how he remembers Gintama. He remembers Gintama as the amalgam of the other anime jokes.
Okay,
but
then.
He recommended to me all of the visual novels, and there's 2 on here. One of which is Studio Madhouse, so, sit forward in the seats. It's called Overlord.
I was actually going to talk about this one next.
You heard about this?
Dude, remember what my side job is?
Yes, I do.
How could I have not heard about this one? People haven't been shutting up in the comment sections.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on a later date, but, Overlord, then...
Overlord is basically, let me just read the description here. A salaryman gets stuck in a defunct MMORPG and decides to take it over. Imagine Log Horizon mixed with The Devil is a Part-Timer and you're halfway there. So,
yeah,
except instead of, being the heroes, this guy is the only human in his world, and he's the bad guy.
Ben keeps on telling me and yelling. The other Ben keeps on telling at me and yelling at me how I need to read it because it's the deepest, darkest, and most monstrous thing ever. But I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. And
it's
Madhouse
not.
Will make it.
But
hear that?
I mean, it's got nothing on something like Berserk. Okay, it's
okay. That's don't go hunting for rabbits with a cannon, dude.
Okay, well, let's.
Okay, and then there's a second.
It's shonen. Right?
Okay, which I like. Madhouse
like,
and shonen, good.
There's places it's not gonna go. Right?
Which is So on that, not on that note at all. Switching gears, the other studio I like a lot is called A1 Pictures. A1 Pictures, you know them. They're all of legendary stuff.
Right.
They're making a fuck me, I'm not reading that. Gate. I'm just gonna call it Gate. It's apparently a seinen classification, and Ben, it's kind of like magic meets guns. It's like regular people fighting people with magical powers, and it's who wins the fight.
I've actually read this.
Yeah, it's yeah. I'm looking forward to that. You told me about that.
So what the title basically translates to something along the lines of the JSDF in Fantasyland.
The Japan Special Defense Forces in Fantasyland.
Yeah, needless to say, they curb stomp everything. Now I hate to burst your bubble on this, Zach, but I do think this is one of those cases where the premise is vastly better than the execution.
Yeah, like I'm just smiling at the premise primarily. I'm really looking forward to it. There is work out there that does much better things with a similar concept, and unfortunately, I can't really remember any of the names. Fine.
Unfortunately, it basically plays out like a self-insert fan fiction.
I hate the generic project onto main characters.
It's a decent self-insert, but it's
whatever. I'll watch the first episode.
Yeah, I would say watch the first few episodes, and maybe it'll, because the other thing is I didn't read the novels, I read the manga.
Which, okay.
So I'm not sure how faithful that was because I haven't been able to find a translation of the novels.
It's other men, if you're hearing this, yell at the people on the forums, get this shit to happen. But yeah. So let's wrap up with the final anime coming up that we want to talk about, and it is fucking Dragon Ball Super. I am looking at all 42 volumes of Dragon Ball on my shelf as we speak, beneath my 65 volumes of One Piece. And to say that I am hyped is an understatement. I'm doing everything in my power to not start looking up fan theories on what's going to happen, restarting my old Comic Vine accounts, and just writing the fuck out of how hyped I am for Dragon Ball. Which is hard, because I still remember a lot of the passwords to those goddamn Comic Vine accounts. But, yeah. Ben, take this away from me.
I'm just looking at the one paragraph description of this, and I am sitting here with my jaw open.
I can't stop smiling.
Because, okay, for those of you who don't know, GT has been jettisoned from canon. Toriyama is back.
He's fucking like 65 or 70 years old, and he's like, give me my series back. Okay, sir. Okay. It's like, I had a career of writing children's books. I've been writing children's books for 20 years, making kids laugh, which is my passion. But now, it's time to make some goddamn dragon testicles. And yes, I'm fucking hyped.
I really don't know what else I could say about this. It's fucking Dragon Ball. And we're getting more of it.
So it's very rare that I'm obsessed with researching anime before it comes out. I'll read the manga, I'll try and find light novels. I gotta be prepared. This, not only is it the first manga that I've read all the way through and weeped a river of tears as I read the 42nd volume. I pretended to be sick and stayed home from school that day. That's how much it fucking hit me. But not only is it that series, but I have no idea what's gonna happen. I am completely unprepared for how badass this is gonna be. And I genuinely think it could live up to the hype. If there's one anime that Toei Animation, which is famous for its relatively low quality, is gonna pull up the money for and throw it at the screen for,
it'll be Dragon Ball.
Fucking Dragon Ball.
Especially because this is anime first. There's not going to be a manga. There's probably going to be a manga, but it's starting out as an anime.
I'm so fucking happy.
Odds are pretty good that we won't see that, even compared to Kai, that this is going to be a much better paced version of Dragon Ball than we've seen.
Because the new movies have been fantastic.
Because if Toriyama's writing for the screen for once,
yeah, and he's really good at that. By the way, he's that's kind of his jam. He made all the manga that he makes now. Like there was one called what was it called, Ben? It was Galaxy Patrol, Jacko the Galactic Patrolman.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was it was really cinematic. It was set in the Dragon Ball universe on an island with a cute little alien that lands. It's awesome.
Sure, I was talking more about the
Battle of the Gods?
5-minute punches.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's the Dragon Ball is the first memed anime, in my opinion. It is the first thing which became so legendarily famous for how it would stretch out its episodes that it became the mocking point of all anime fans everywhere, because we still fucking accepted it. We're like, yeah, man, I was sitting there with my jaw open for 4 hours because that's how long it took for that Kamehameha battle to end. It's like, you don't think there's a problem with that? No, I don't know what you're talking about. The more minutes of Dragon Ball, the better. But now it's gonna be kind of a bit of a culture shock, in my opinion, because we're gonna get canon story out of movie pacing. If it's anything like Battle of the Gods, I will freak out. It's gonna be great.
All right. When does the Frieza movie come out?
Revival of F comes out in 2015, and it appears to be. When is it? Just tell me what. Come on, Goot, help me, Ben. Help. This is taking.
I think it's called Resurrection of. I think it's called Resurrection of F, not Revival.
Yeah. Okay, it is called Resurrection of and what? This is strange. It appears that the premiere American theaters August 4th, even though they did the English sub world premiere at April 11th in the Egyptian Theater in LA, which really I have to wait that long? Come on. Just shut up and take my money already. It's yours.
They're just trying to build up hype, that's all.
They've fucking succeeded, man. Dragon Ball speaks for itself. They're not going to get any more people.
I know, but they can't afford like mass advertising, right? Like they can't put trailers in theaters, right? It takes time for the word to spread.
I guess you're right.
Right?
But
so it's like they have to give it some time just to make sure that they actually are going to have butts in seats.
Worst case scenario, I'll drag my family there to see it.
I mean, remember what happened with Little Witch Academia when Trigger tried to screen that in a theater in Japan?
Yeah, it did not.
They had to cancel it because only 12 tickets got bought.
Yeah, it was. Which, come on, guys, Little Witch Academia was the shit. Get your shit together.
I mean, Japan. You Japanese anime fans don't know what's good for you, but.
Yeah. God. Before we go any further down that, let's try and wrap this up.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's been fun, but it is now 8:45, and I have to go iron my dog.
I haven't figured out how to end the podcast yet, Ben.
Like
Have
this.
any recommendations?
Bye.
Bye.